All right, guys, welcome back to my channel. This is John, Carnivore Backwoods. Today, I am honored to have Rebecca on here from Carnivore Wellness. She's got a new YouTube channel that she's working on building. Plus, she has a private community where she helps reach out to people and help them on their diet journey. So, without any more talking here, let's bring Rebecca on stage. Good morning, Rebecca. How you doing today?
Good morning, John. I am well. Thank you for having me. I appreciate that. It's good to talk
Absolutely.
with you today.
We're excited to have you on here. So me and you met here, was it last week or the week before?
I think it was just last week.
Was it last weekend?
Yeah.
So at the Carnivore Doctors meetup in Loudon, Tennessee, which was a good time. It was really inspiring to hear everybody else's stories.
It was great. It was a good meetup. Dr. Lisa Wiedemann and Laura, they helped put on that wonderful event. So I appreciate them for giving us the opportunity to meet one another and share our stories with each other. It was great.
Absolutely. And speaking of Dr. Lisa Wiedemann, she is confirmed to be on my Carnivore Roundtable Sunday, December the 17th. So nice. For those of you listening, make sure you mark your calendar. I'll be posting that up soon, but looking forward to that discussion with Dr. Wiedemann. All right. So we're here today. We're here to talk about your channel. Let me put that up real quick here.
Sure. Thank you.
Present. Share screen. All right. So here's her channel. She's got, what do you got here? You got 45 subscribers. I was 45 today. Apparently I forgot to subscribe last week. So I'm number 45 on the list. This is her channel. She's got a few videos up. Some good content. Definitely worth checking out. I love the banner up here of all that bacon. It makes me hungry.
Love bacon. Can't go wrong there.
You can never go wrong with bacon. So check her channel out. That's at Carnivore Wellness. And we'll throw that in the comments here in a minute. But check out her channel. Give her a subscribe. Give her a like. And start seeing what her journey is about, because it's going to be entertaining. We're going to discuss that today. All right. Let me get that off the screen. We'll go back up here to the two of us. So, Rebecca, let's talk about your diet journey.
Let's get into it. So,
go ahead and start from wherever you want, and we'll just go from there.
All right. Well, like many people, I kind of was just living an average life and going along with things as normal, status quo. Throughout, high school, college and stuff, I would try and dabble in health and wellness, get on a little exercise kick or suddenly try and eat healthy or what I thought was healthy at the time. But that would never last for very long. Kind of a lot of binging and restricting cycles throughout my life, which certainly did my metabolism no favors. And throughout college and in the years after, I definitely enjoyed my partying days and the boozing and smoking weed and, really not treating my body like the gift that it is. And that didn't help anything else either. So my health journey really kind of reached a critical point after the birth of my first child. I now have a 4.5-year-old and a 3-year-old. But after the birth of the first child, I quickly developed postpartum anxiety. And this was really difficult to manage as a new mom. I did not want to leave the house. I couldn't even go to the grocery store to do the grocery shopping, couldn't keep a mental list in my head, always frantic and panicky. And so it really set me back as far as making connections with others, which, if you've ever gone through the experience of becoming a parent, you know that there's a big identity shift that takes place during that phase of life. And I did not cope with that very well. So alongside the anxiety, I was having some mental issues. And like I mentioned, couldn't keep a running list in my head, some cognitive, brain fog, things like that. And then I got pregnant with my second child very quickly after. Within my daughter was 8 months when I found out I was pregnant with him. So within a year and a half, I had 2 babies. That was a lot on my body. And I wasn't nourishing my body at the time with the right foods. I was very carb heavy. I wasn't drinking when I was pregnant, but when I wasn't pregnant, I definitely went back to the drinking, and a lot of coffee too. Again, didn't have that during pregnancy, but regardless, it was definitely a drain on my health. And so after the birth of my son, I did have a return of that postpartum anxiety, but I really experienced the postpartum depression. And despite the fact that my son was a beautiful, healthy, wonderful little boy, very typical average baby, and that, if you did the things that you were supposed to do, he was totally a wonderful baby to hang out with, slept well, ate well, all of that. But I would have times in the night where I was nursing him or having to get up repeatedly, every few hours. And I was in a state of rage. And it got to the point where I would, I'd sit there nursing him and I would just sob and cry and have this urge to throw him across the room. It was not a safe place for me to be in mentally, nor for anyone else in my family. And that unfortunately continued for quite some time. I really didn't know how to help myself out of that situation. And before long, I found myself at a place where my mental health was really struggling, and I got on medication for a little bit of time there. What was that, John?
So so what age were you at when you had your first child?
I believe I was 29 when I had my first child, and then 30 when I had my second. So, back to back, and at a good age. I wasn't considered a geriatric pregnancy or anything. And every time I went to the doctor.
What was your health like at that point? How was your journey let's go back to your first child and let's just talk about, where were you at health wise? I mean, you talked about drinking and stuff.
Right.
But what about, your overall metabolic health? How were you at that point?
There were no external signs that there was anything wrong in my body. I'd go to the doctor and I'd step on the scale. I was, of an average BMI. They said, "Oh, you're just a young, healthy mom. You're fine." And they would say this to me. And I remember thinking in those moments, but I don't feel fine. I don't feel good. So, I was always fatigued, and I was, having mood swings and irritability. I mentioned that the brain fog was definitely an issue, but I didn't recognize any of those signs as being related to my health, surprisingly.
So, at that point, I mean, you weren't overweight.
No.
You actually thought you were probably underweight, didn't you? I mean, that was kind of one of the things that you were facing at that point.
Right.
So,
Yeah. At one point, when I went in with my daughter when she was only 2 months old, the pediatrician, she was concerned about how slow my child was growing, and she said, "Look, Mama, you've got to start eating more. You're losing too much weight, and so it's affecting your breast milk. So you might need to supplement with formula." And I didn't want to do that at that point. And so I went home and I thought I was eating more. I was just eating more carbs. I wasn't eating any of the healthy saturated animal fats.
empty
I
calories.
wasn't eating protein in appropriate amounts. So, her growth continued to be slow as well, because my breast milk was not as nourishing as it could have or should have been.
So interesting. So at the time you were struggling, you had these health issues going on. You weren't, it wasn't weight, but you had mental, issues going on
Big time.
that you were struggling with, after the birth of your first child. What type of, activities were you doing at this time?
Oh, I was a stay-at-home mom. So my life was just one big blur of taking care of babies and picking someone up and trying to soothe someone, nursing somebody, feeding somebody. It was a nonstop onslaught of demand after demand, where I was pouring into my children. And I will say I was a very good mom in that I remained present for them, but it came at a very high cost to myself, in that I did not practice self-care. There were, a week or so where I wouldn't shower, I wouldn't brush my teeth for 3 days. Like, that's gross. But I didn't even recognize those as being signs of depression, because I was so engrossed in this stage of just trying to survive these early motherhood days. So my mental health, like you mentioned, John, was really where I struggled the most. And I really just went through every day drinking coffee until it was time to eat a sugary snack, and then more coffee. And maybe I'd catch a nap here and there, but usually not. And then interrupted sleep all night long. So this just really set me up for a lot of inflammation and a lot of hormonal disruption.
Absolutely. So last week when we were discussing, we were also talking about the fact that, I mean, you used to be super active. You used to hike a lot. I think you still hike a lot, for that matter.
I do.
But you've actually hiked the Appalachian Trail from one end to the other, haven't you?
I have. Yes, I have. In 2014, I went from Georgia to Maine.
And so that was post-child or
That was pre-child. Those were back in my adventuring days when I was footloose and fancy free.
All right. Well, see, that's
Yeah.
exciting thing because the Appalachian Trail. There's not many people that can say they went from one end to the other. There's lots of people that hike the trail, but not who've ever absolutely completed it. So that's exciting stuff, especially for us that live here in East Tennessee and
Oh,
live in
absolutely.
this area.
Yes, it's beautiful. That's actually why we moved back here, was to be closer to outdoor access.
So I
But
mean,
what's interesting is when I was hiking the Appalachian Trail, I did contract Giardia. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's a protozoa that can set up shop in your digestive system.
mhm,
Basically, you get outrageous diarrhea and you just cannot digest food for a long period of time, basically until you get medication. And the
mhm.
medication itself is very damaging to all of the good and bad bacteria in your gut. It knocks out everything in order to take out this one protozoa. And so after finishing the trail, I had to go on treatment for that. And I know, looking back, I know that that was one area of my life, one time where I experienced a lot of gut damage and digestive health setback. And, from there, I really do think a lot of the anxiety and depression continued to, take hold because my gut was not able to digest food appropriately. And developed signs of leaky gut. I became, dairy and gluten intolerant. And I
You,
know that that was one time in my
so I
life
mean,
where
you
I
took
sought
a
help from them.
massive dose of antibiotics to probably
Yeah,
to fight
it was
that.
Flagyl, and that one just takes
Oh,
out everything.
yeah. I mean, that just it killed everything and everything anything.
It does. Yeah.
So antibiotics,
Mhm.
pregnancy, you
Yes.
know, all the things that goes along with that. And
Mhm.
so you're dealing with the struggle of your identity, your
Yes.
weight, being a
Mhm.
mother,
Mhm.
parent. I raised 5 kids, so I know the struggles of being a parent.
Yes.
So you continued on. You had your second child.
Mhm.
Things just got worse for you mentally.
It really did. I was really in a dark place, and as grateful as I am today to have my children, and I know that I'm incredibly privileged to have 2 beautiful, healthy children, most days, I honestly felt a sincere feeling of regret at having children, and that was hard to admit to myself, but it was just how I felt because things were so hard and I wasn't able to be present in the moment. I didn't feel joy in those interactions with them because my mental health was so far gone. And I mean, hormonally I was struggling every single month. I mean, the ups and downs that I would experience throughout the weeks that passed were just very difficult to navigate. And I'm so thankful to my husband for his continued support. And I had support through my sister as well. But by and large, I just kind of had to stuff it all down deep and show up for my kids day in and day out. And it just came at such a high cost to my own health.
All right. So how old are you kids now?
So my oldest is 4.5, and my son is now 3.
Okay.
So I've made it through that really difficult early stage, and now I absolutely love that I have both of them. I get so much joy out of being with them and seeing them grow and seeing their
So
relationship together.
how long ago? How long you been on carnivore?
I've been carnivore for 16 months now.
Wow,
So my
outstanding.
health journey started after my son quit nursing, probably fall of 2021. And I thought, oh, okay, now I can get my body back. I can start to, nourish myself and hopefully work out, exercise a little bit, and get myself back to a place of feeling good. And I tried a few things here and there, but I didn't make serious changes at first until I realized that I had some significant problems. And so for me, that kind of kicked off in January of 2022. I started off with dry January. So, like I mentioned, I used to drink a ton of alcohol, like multiple drinks a day. That was just my norm. And I didn't really want to face the fact that I had a problem with that. So I tried dry January and I didn't totally make it through the month without drinking, but I did by and large abstain for the most part. But during that time, I turned to sugar to replace that sugar that was missing from my alcohol intake and realized I had a terrible sugar problem. And then kind of looked in the mirror. I'm like, oh, I want to lose the vanity pounds from, motherhood. Okay, great, fine. I'll try intermittent fasting because that sounds easy. I can still eat what I want. I just need to make sure I only do it within these certain windows of time. But I tried and I couldn't do it. I physically could not go even the 8 hours overnight without eating. I would eat right before bed and first thing in the morning, a huge, bunch of honey in my coffee and get the day rolling with so much sugar all day long. And I didn't have appetite for real good meals. I only had an appetite for sugar. So it was a problem and I knew I needed to address it. And in going through that experience with intermittent fasting and realizing that I could not do it, that was the eye-opening moment for me in realizing that my metabolic health was not where it needed to be, that I was not metabolically flexible, and that I was in danger of developing the chronic diseases that can come from not being metabolically flexible. And so that's when I started on a ketogenic diet. And, it was really hard to get through those sugar cravings because they were intense. And everyone said it'll only last 3 or 4 days. But for me, it lasted a solid 2 weeks of white knuckling my way through no sugar. And I wish I'd known about carnivore and had the tool of carnivore. I think it could have been so much better to just nourish densely with those great high quality foods, saturated fats early on to push out those cravings. But I didn't have that tool in my tool belt at the time. So I continued doing keto. However, and I want to make sure I say that I did experience a lot of mental health improvements when I was in a ketogenic state. It really helped regulate my mood swings. It calmed my nervous system. And I, didn't have the brain fog and the irritability like I had. So I already knew that I was on the right track and that this was helping me be the person that I wanted to be and be the mother I wanted to be and showing up for my kids. But I still was including a lot of, quote, healthy vegetables like beets and a ton of spinach, so much spinach. And of course, the nut butters and nuts, almonds. I mean, a lot of really high oxalate things. Even I'd reserve, save my carbs for the end of the day when I could have a whole entire, 90% dark chocolate bar. I mean, that's still not a healthy relationship with food. And just kind of goes back to this lifelong cycle of binging and restricting. So I was restricting, but I was still finding these little moments to binge. Granted, it was on keto foods, but it still was not an appropriate relationship with food. And so that kind of led me to the next phase, which was hearing that you could live craving free on a carnivore diet. And that to me was total news. I thought there's no way I would ever be able to live craving free. But if there's a chance that this is possible, I have to try it out. So I just dropped the veggies out of my diet and I was eating relatively clean keto. I didn't have the sweeteners and whatnot because I could tell from an early on that those really disrupted my digestion and led to a lot of bloating. So I didn't have those kind of sweet keto treats that can often be a pitfall for folks in that line of eating. But I did instead, I needed to focus on just eating the meats once I switched over to carnivore. And within just 3 days, the cravings were totally gone and quiet. And for the first time in my life, I had mental space to think about things other than food, other than what is my next meal? What's my next snack? When is the next appropriate time to eat or put something in my mouth for entertainment, for comfort, for numbing purposes? It really allowed me to create space to address my relationship with food, which has been so long overdue. And I just continued on that path of being on the carnivore diet and continued to see mental health improvement. And I will say, I mentioned that I used to smoke a lot of weed, and I'm talking like a lot, guys. Like every day I was smoking to kind of calm my anxiety and to kind of get me to a place where I could continue to function and be calm and kind. And I didn't like that I relied on it, but I kind of just accepted it. Okay, well, I just kind of need this for medicinal purposes in order to regulate my emotions and my mood. But after transitioning to carnivore, I no longer wanted or needed that marijuana. And when I would, I tried using it a little bit when I had first switched over to carnivore, and it hit my systems totally differently. And I did not enjoy that feeling, and it did not make me feel good. It was as if my body was saying, whoa, this is too much. This is really toxic and I don't want this. And so I listened to that and I dropped the weed from, my daily use.
Isn't that amazing? I mean, my buddy JT with the Polka Moonshine, I don't know if you've seen his channel or not, but he had the same thing. He was smoking weed on a regular basis. And once he started on carnivore, he's like, look, I got a better high off steaks than I could ever get off the weed.
Yes. Yes. And I will say, so I felt good. And I also dropped coffee soon after going carnivore. So that kind of helped lower the anxiety as well, because I know the caffeine
Not me.
was a stimulant for, keeping my cortisol high and for really kind of fueling that anxiety. So my mental health improved greatly during that time. But I also suddenly found myself dealing with some of the personal growth and development and those challenges that come when we finally have time to sit with ourselves and sit in hard feelings, hard moments, challenges that we faced. I used food for a long time as a way to numb out and distract myself from the things that I didn't want to deal with. And in creating this mental space and clarity and the sense of calm in my body, I was then at a place where I could start doing the internal work that it takes to better myself and better my relationships with others in my life. And so, I love that I found this way of eating, and I credit the carnivore diet to transforming my body, mind, physically, but also the emotional and mental piece, because I have now, been able to work through some of the hurt and some of the pain that I've experienced in life, to be at a place where I can use that to have compassion for others and to connect with others and to continue to grow myself, but also to help others grow through that process as well. So
That's a
that
good
for me
point.
has been the biggest gift.
So let me ask you this, and we'll bring this up now. This is a good point for it. So you've been reaching out to help other people grow and to coach them and help them get through. And so you started a mighty network um,
I did.
called
Yes.
Carnivore Wellness, which is a free group that you're offering right now. And I expect that,
Yes.
as it grows and stuff, you'll probably have some paid membership down the road. But right now it is
Mhm.
free.
It is.
And if somebody needs to hook up and have some private, small group one-on-one,
Mhm.
that's what your group's all about. Actually, I'm going to be on your your Zoom meeting today at 2 o'clock is on my
Yes.
calendar.
Mhm.
So tell us how that came about, why you decided to go that direction. Kind of give us a background. Tell us how to find it. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll make sure I pull up that link for y'all as well. So, for me, when I was maybe a month or so into my carnivore journey, I knew that, well, I don't know that I knew, but I found a community that was very helpful for me in staying carnivore. It was full of people who had great experience and knew what they'd gone through the journey themselves, and
we're
they
hearing
would
your clicks over
always,
here.
I'm posting this in the comments so that y'all have that link to join if you would like. So I
There
joined a
you
carnivore community that was very helpful in helping me stay on track and having accountability and not feeling alone in a lot of the struggles that I faced early on. I had digestive issues, as I've mentioned, and I experienced a lot of oxalate dumping and some histamine intolerance and an inability to fast. And so for those first several months, I really relied on the camaraderie of others to kind of stay the course and continue to trust that this way of eating was indeed healing, even as I went through those moments of struggle. And so I was in that community for quite some time. I even joined on the team as a moderator. However, that community went through a little bit of a shakeup, and they've kind of there was just a changeover of the way that things were done. And at that time, I was moving across the country from California to Eastern Tennessee, where we are now. And so it just seemed like a good time to take a break and take a step back. I was dealing with my own kind of issues, which we can kind of get into in a little bit regarding fasting. And I, uh, I really missed that community, that sense of community. And I wanted to form a place where we could offer similar support in accountability and sharing stories and motivation and hope. But I also wanted to make sure that this was a community that focused on that personal growth and emotional development side, because I felt like that piece was somewhat missing in the community I'd been a part of previously. And, what they do in that community is great. However, I just needed for myself a community that would allow a little bit more conversation around that personal growth and development piece. And so that is why I've created this community. And it is small, it is in its infancy, but it is created around the people and the members. So if you want to help be part of that community and influence the way that it will take shape, please, by all means, we would be so honored to have you. We have weekly Zoom calls, 3 meetings a week to just check in, talk. We loosely have topics around each meeting, but mostly it's a time for people to come and share what's on their hearts, minds, what they're experiencing, and to just give us all a place to connect, because I do sincerely believe we are better together, especially in sharing, the highs and lows of this journey.
And there's a Zoom meeting at 2:00, right? That's on my calendar too.
Yes, there is.
It's titled "Know Your Why."
Know your why, because we all come to this way of eating and we might have some reasons that get us started. For me, I started because I thought, oh, I could be free of cravings, but that's no longer my why. That was my foot in the door. But my deeper why, my deeper meaning for wanting to continue this way of eating is for the mental health and clarity, so that I can show up as the person that I want to be for the people in my life that I love. And that has become my driving why. So even as I've had struggles, I know why I'm doing this each and every day. I choose to be the best version of myself because I love my kids, because I love my husband, and I want to connect with a wider community, in compassion with others. And that is my reason. And so that gives us a place to talk about, some of those deeper reasons why we might want to make these life changes, because life changes are hard and the transformation is hard, but it's so worth it, especially when you know what you're working towards.
So I'm going to embarrass you here probably, but
Go for it.
That's what I do. So let's go back. So your why wasn't weight loss. Your why was mental health. Your why was, struggling with all the things that you were struggling with.
Mm-hmm.
And you were actually, your vision of your weight was actually lower than you are now. You actually gained weight.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And how old are you?
I'll be 33 on November 2nd. So birthday coming up.
So let me just tell you this. If you were to walk into a casino where I used to work in Nevada, and I would card you, because I don't think that you're 33. I think you're maybe 21, a little older than that. But I would never give you as somebody who's 33 and who's had 2 kids. You look amazing. You're healthy. Your skin is vibrant. The carnivore diet has done amazing things for you. Mm-hmm. That's one of the powers of this thing that a lot of people don't realize and talk about is slowly but surely. I mean, if you look, have you seen Maggie, the rancher from Canada?
Oh, phenomenal. Can't believe she's 86 or something?
She's something like 86 years old.
There's no way.
I wouldn't put her past a day over 60 if you look at her.
She looks like she's in her 50s. That's what I would say.
She looks like she's in her 50s. So
yes.
Youthful. Health and nutrition is so important. Mm-hmm. And that's why I was really excited to have you on my carnivore live stream, because a lot of I get guys on here and, like myself, I started off at, 345 pounds and I've lost 80 pounds. And I had Randy on here, ground beef guy. He started off at 400 and some pounds and he's lost like 60 so far. All of us, Homestead, Howe, JT, and Poca Moonshine. I mean, we've all had a weight issue that we were dealing with. And then along the way, our why went from weight to health, because we realized this is amazing and our health do it. But for you, you realized I wasn't overweight. I was skinny. To the rest of the world, I was healthy.
Right.
That's the way the world views you. If you're skinny and, and young, you're just healthy and there's nothing wrong with you. But actually there was things going on with you that needed to be dealt with. And it was all dealt with nutrition. So, like I said, I'm excited to have you on here. And I said, I probably would embarrass you a little bit because, flatter you a little bit there, but it is true.
Thank you.
So you have an amazing community. I've been in there for a few days. I joined up in there. I've, posted some stuff in there and had some conversations. I've delved through a lot of your back videos. I got on your Instagram and I've watched a bunch of that stuff. You can find her on Instagram. You can find her on YouTube. We got you on I think, are you on Facebook? I don't know if I have you on Facebook.
I am not.
Okay. So, I mean, you're active in the social media crowd and you're reaching out and trying to help people. And that's awesome. So let's take a quick look here at the chat. We've been going for 30 minutes and let's just see who we all got in here. I've seen some familiar names I want to reach out to. Meeting Wellness is Christy.
Hi, Christy. Thank you. I saw that you subscribed. Thanks.
She's a teacher out of Southern California.
Oh, very nice.
And then Richard, he's up in Copper Hill, Tennessee. If you're familiar with that, that's right there on the Georgia Tennessee border there, McKaysville, Copper Hill area. Keto Cheeto, he's actually from Tennessee too, if I remember correctly. And if I'm wrong on that, Keto, correct me. My Apex Odyssey, I don't recognize you, but welcome. Mike here is Keto Mike. He's got a channel, and he's going to be coming on here to be on the channel with me here shortly. And let's see, Ketovore Oregonian. That's Becky. That's Becky. She's from Oregon, and she's ketovore. She's not full carnivore, but we still love her to death.
Absolutely. And that's the thing too in my community is if you are a meat eater, if you are animal-based, ketovore, carnivore, if you are at all in this sphere, you're absolutely welcome. We welcome anyone who is just carnivore curious.
And actually, and Becky, I think I said it right, didn't I? You can tell me in the comments, but I actually think I said your name correctly this time. I might have had a little bit of a space in there, but I got it out. Let's see here. Meeting Wellness. Christy says, what did we got here? Wait, let me go back to this one. Gosh, I remember those early days when my kids were 16 months apart. My eating was so disordered. It was hard to be present for them, and I wish I had been, so I can relate.
Yes.
So,
yes, it is a sincere struggle. So I know that. Thank you. I feel very seen. 16 months apart is very close in age.
And then Christy's responding to Becky here. Mine weren't that close together, but I had potty training and then one infant, and we had it was hard. Wish I had been eating the proper human diet then.
Same.
Absolutely.
Same. Yeah, it is so hard. I feel like I've been potty training for the last 2.5, 3 years, and I have been.
And then Becky here's, I wish I had the wisdom of proper human diet back in the 90s. Isn't it insane? I mean, we were so close. But we were just feeding a ton of carbohydrates, I mean, I was raised on steak and chicken and pig and bacon. And I mean, that's been a standard of my diet since I was a kid. But then I was also, absolutely consuming the carbohydrates. There was a time where I was consuming 2-liter bottles. I consumed 2, maybe 3 of those in a day. 6 liters of straight up Mountain Dew sugar, I look back at it and I'm like, I don't even know where it all went.
Right. Well, and it's just so hard on your body to produce enough insulin to funnel it into your cells and keep your blood sugar in a safe range. I mean, our bodies are amazing and they can handle a lot of stressors, but when we continually push those stressors over and over, we develop the chronic disease and inflammation, and it's nice to know that there's something we can do about it. And I shared a lot of frustration, when I first wanted to try and get my health back under control at the beginning of 2022, I researched, I was all over Google looking for, how to balance your hormones, what to do for hormone health. And I'm telling you, this information about regulating your hormones through diet is not readily available. You've got to know the right search terms, the right keywords. It took me months of constantly, Googling like this, I know this can't be a normal way of being. This isn't how I'm supposed to feel at 31 years old at the time. But it took a while. It wasn't until I found keto that I really started to get into the literature about how your insulin relates to your cortisol. And when your insulin goes up, your cortisol goes up. When your cortisol is high, you can become estrogen dominant, and that disrupts everything. And, I just didn't have that knowledge to know that those 2 levers, those 2 hormones are 2 of the biggest triggers that you can pull to help your hormones, like lowering your insulin by not consuming carbs in excess, and then also by lowering your cortisol, also, which is helped by lowering your insulin, but also by lowering stressors in your life and doing things like not drinking 5 cups of coffee a day and actually getting solid sleep at night. But I did not have those pieces of information to empower me to make the right changes. And it took a lot of digging. And once I found that information out, I was almost furious and just kind of mad that this information is not out there for people, because I was looking for it and I couldn't find it. So what about the people who aren't even yet at that point where they're looking for that information? That information could have helped me and saved me from some of the heartache.
It gets even harder. So, I mean, even like, us on the YouTube space, we're putting out information, but I'm giving you my personal my personal experience with it, but it's still up to you to make a decision whether you're going to do it for yourself, because I'm not giving medical advice. I'm not a doctor.
Right.
I'm not giving nutritional advice, and that's, and I have to put that in, I put that in descriptions of my videos, because I got to tell people, look, I don't know what your journey is. I know what my journey is. And, so, for most people who are coming to it, they don't really care about that, and they're gonna latch on. But if you're out there, at the other end of it, and you look at that and like, well, this guy doesn't even stand behind his his information. Well, no, I legally can't put myself out there and say this is what you need to do, even though I know it's what you need to do.
Yeah.
So here's here's the link to her Carnivore Wellness. Click on that; it's in the comments. You can find her Mighty Tribe, or Mighty, site. It's the same thing that Ken Bear uses for his group. I think there's a few others that use it. It's a good little social media app that you can put on your phone, and then you can have a private group, and you can have conversations, communications, and then she's scheduling out the Zoom calls. And they're not big groups at this point, because you don't have a big following. So they're still pretty small. But you're wanting to grow it, and we understand that. It's something that I'm actually exploring for down the road. Right now, I'm working on putting together a newsletter.
Very cool.
If you guys haven't seen that, I got to sign up for my newsletter on my Facebook page that you can go and click on, put your email address in, and I'm going to be doing a newsletter on carnivore, homesteading, off-grid living, and throwing in some carnivore, ketovore recipes from time to time.
Yeah, that'll be very cool.
Keto Mike says, let's speak to our doctors about the keto carnivore lifestyle. They may not even know that we are the proof. Yeah, I spoke to mine. Her eyes rolled back in her head like I hit the jackpot on a slot machine. It just went. Then she tried to convince me for 10 minutes that I needed to drink Metamucil because I wasn't getting enough fiber in my diet. Some of them get it, some of them don't.
And as someone who struggled so much with digestion, I don't know that I had solid stool for years leading up to carnivore. And of course, once I started carnivore, things continued to stay loose for a while. And so for a long time there, I really didn't know if I was actually healing my gut. I really kind of wondered, is this okay to continue to struggle with my digestion for so long? And within about 4 to 5 months, I started to see things firm up and become a healthier consistency. But just for anyone who's struggling with their digestion, like I mentioned, I had Giardia when I hiked the Appalachian Trail, and I also got it again when I tried to thru hike the Colorado Trail, which wasn't nearly as long, but that trip got interrupted because I got Giardia again and had to go through that round of medication again. So I had a lot of gut health healing to take place. And it just took longer than it did the average person. Most people, they start carnivore within 2 to 3 weeks, things start to firm up and they start to, have a little bit more consistent toileting habits. But, for those who really come from a background of poor gut health, it can take a while. But the healing does occur. It just takes a while.
Absolutely. All right. Becky says that was pretty close. The best so far, John. Thank you, Becky. I'm trying. It's a tongue twister for some reason. I just can't get it all together there. All right. So Meeting Wellness says, need her on the Lioness Lifestyle Live. I just saw the photo of her group, and it's Lioness. Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to throw that out to you. Definitely get Rebecca on the Lioness YouTube live stream. I don't know if you've seen that yet, Rebecca, but it's obviously all females, which is
awesome. Good. We need more women,
And it is, because if you look back at it, and you look at all the YouTubers, we're pretty heavy male based, and even I've been reaching out to more of them, saying, hey, come on my carnivore roundtable, because I want to have a well balanced discussion. I don't want it to always be us guys on there dominating the field.
Well, the ladies appreciate that. Yeah, we make up half the population. It's good to have the representation too.
I'm looking for cues, guys. If you have questions for Rebecca, please put a cue in them. I'm just popping through the comments, looking at different things to talk about. But if you have direct questions you want to ask her, about carnivore, about the Appalachian Trail, about whatever, throw them in there. And we got some cues. There we go. So now we're getting there. All right. We are the proof together. We can spread the word of the PhD lifestyle. So many don't even know. So many don't even know. So many are metabolic disorder. I know I was one not too long ago.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that
We
was
are the
me.
proof. I tell people all the time. And, at this point, I've lost 80 pounds. People try to argue
Amazing.
with me and they're like, oh, well, this. And I'm like, look, I'm a walking receipt of the diet.
Right.
I'm
Right.
healthy. I no longer have diabetes. I no longer have fatty liver. You know, my blood pressure is under control.
Mhm.
I'm within spitting distance of getting off all my medication. I mean, I'm that
Mhm.
close to dropping, off blood pressure medication that I've been taking for 25 years.
Mm.
Think about that. I've been
Isn't
taking
that
this.
powerful?
It's absolutely powerful, but it's
Yeah.
you look at people and like, don't tell me that you can't do this. It's just you don't want to do this. You don't want to give up your cravings. You don't want to give up your drug.
Mm.
That's what it comes
Right.
down to. You know,
Well, and because when you give those things up, guess what? You have to look at yourself in the mirror for who you are, and then you have to start the internal work of actually learning to like and love yourself as you are. You can't hide behind those things anymore. I hid behind the alcohol, I hid behind the weed, I hid behind the coffee routine, and that didn't serve me in the long run. I mean, it was a crutch and a band-aid, but in taking those things away, I had to get really honest with myself about who I am and who I want to be and the level of intentionality I want to bring into my daily life. And so, yeah, I mean, there is great transformation to be had, but it does take that part of doing the internal work to really love and heal yourself from years of damage and heartache.
absolutely, absolutely. So let's take a quick break here, guys. If you want to really help us out and help us spread the message, hit that thumbs up button. It's right in front of you. Okay. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber to my channel. Go over to her channel, hit the thumbs up on hers because she's got this live streaming over there too. Hit the subscribe button over there. It won't cost you anything and it helps us out immensely and we appreciate you.
We do. Thank you.
And then if you're into snacking on the on the carnivore diet, I have this. This is a code. You can use the Backwoods. Let me get rid of that comment. Hold on a sec. Hide comment. Sorry. You know, Carnivore Chris, they're sponsoring my channel. They're sponsoring this video today. They're helping me out. They're helping you guys out. You can use this code Carnivore Back, or excuse me, you use the code Backwoods. Save 10% when you go to Carnivore Chris. I like some of this stuff. I wasn't too impressed with the liver, and I do like liver, but I didn't like the dried liver. It was too much to chew on. But the ribeye, oh my goodness, that disappeared in a heartbeat. In the flour for cooking, the beef butter, which is just tallow, I mean, it's all good stuff. So, give it a check and see if you like it. I think you will. And like I
Mhm.
said, you save 10% and it helps my channel out a little bit to help pay for, the things that are going on over here.
Yeah.
And that's all the plugs I'm going to do on that. We're going to move on. I appreciate you guys listening to that.
I
All
will
right.
say though, just real quick with Carnivore Crisp, I mean, I'm not endorsed by them or anything, but I love their brisket. The brisket cut is delicious because it's a great fat to protein ratio. Because I like to eat a little bit higher fat, and so that one is one. It tastes amazing. Two, it's got a really good fat to protein ratio, and I like to get outdoors and hike. Sometimes it's not so easy to tote along some meat that you might want to keep refrigerated. So it's a great backpacking snack to have along your journeys as well.
All right. So we got our first question here. Do you have a favorite meal slash meat? Question
Cannot go wrong with a ribeye. Love a
mark.
ribeye.
Everybody. I don't,
Ribeye, throw a lot of
except for,
salt on there, occasionally some butter.
except for the ground beef guy. I don't think I've had anybody ever answer that question any other way. We're all like
Yeah.
ribeye, baby, ribeye.
Yeah.
But
I will say
ground
though,
beef.
I do eat a lot of ground beef and eggs. That's kind of my go-to,
Yeah,
my go-to meal, especially breakfast. Some form of ground beef with some eggs. That keeps me going.
we do a lot of sirloin smothered
Mm-hmm.
in butter because you got to
Mm-hmm.
get the fat level up, right? I mean, this is
Right.
we call this the carnivore diet, but it's actually the fativore diet. I mean,
It is.
we want to get more fat in our diet.
Mm-hmm.
We some people get way too much protein and not enough fat, and they
Mm-hmm.
wonder why they're struggling. Um,
Right.
so sirloins are cheaper. You can get those regularly. Add some butter. 4 or 5 fried eggs. Or scrambled eggs. In lard.
Mm-hmm.
That's absolutely amazing. I eat that multiple days of the week. So that's always
Mm-hmm.
my go-to.
Yes.
All right. I think I saw another question. All right. Here's one from Becky. Do you find women in your generation care about nutrition? Mine were yo-yo dieters, but I see that
Mm-hmm.
fat acceptance movement and wonder if it's a real sentiment or just a wish.
I will say I see my peer group, my fellow moms, my friends, they are struggling with their health and nutrition as well. Pretty much all the moms I know who've gone through motherhood, they have had some form of postpartum anxiety or depression, some kind of hormonal dysregulation, some sort of, mental health issue that has plagued part of their journey as well. And I guarantee you it comes down to nutrition. And I know that they care because they talk about it and, it's something that's on their minds, but I don't know that they are necessarily ready for that change because it's a big lifestyle change. And I think, a lot of times it's tempting to look in other areas, maybe an easier solution. I know I fell into that camp. I didn't want to make lifestyle changes. I wanted to take a supplement or something. I didn't want to have to, actually change my habits or change my mindset or my relationship to food. But I do think it's coming. I mean, with the advent of avocado toast, being kind of a health food, people know that they need their healthy fats. So I do think there is this trend of moving away from fearing fat, but I don't think that there is necessarily the widespread acceptance of a need to go low carb to help regulate the hormones and just regulate your overall, inflammation and whatnot. So I'm with you. I want to be hopeful. I want to say it's changing, but I don't know that I necessarily see that as widespread as I would like to. I have friends who cheer me on. They're like, "Oh, how's your carnivore way of eating going? How are you feeling?" And they are happy for me when they see my progress and they know that I've improved because they have been there for me when I've been down and out and just really struggling. But they are still not yet ready to make any of those changes for themselves. So I don't know. I'm like you. I really do want to believe that we're moving away from fearing the fat, but I think we just still have a lot of health myths to overcome. As society in general, there's still a lot of misinformation out there.
And they just came out with that study that they posted out there. You know,
Yes.
just that wasn't posted for us. You know,
No.
that was we're not we're all of us were like, yeah, that's some crap, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't even think that was posted for the vegans and the vegetarians because they all looked at it and went, no, that don't make any sense either. I mean, anybody that knows anything about health is
Hmm.
like that doesn't make any sense. And then you go back and actually read the press release and realize it didn't say what the press said.
No.
Um, that was directed at the people that are in between
Hmm.
that either aren't vegan, aren't vegetarian, or gone carnivore, and they're trying to convince them not to go carnivore. I mean, that
Hmm.
I firmly believe they put that out as a way to scare people into thinking twice about carnivore because it's the only sense behind it. Why would you direct that type of BS message out that has no basis? And they'll retract. They'll retract out of it at some point, but that'll be very low press. There won't be anything
Hmm.
on it. It'll be the back page of the paper in little bitty print. It'll be a comment that's thrown at the end of a news story. Oh
Hmm.
well, it didn't say that it will cause this. It said may. And
Hmm.
they'll backtrack out of it.
Hmm.
But the
But the
damage is
headline
done.
will have already made the rounds.
The headline's already made it. Nobody hangs out for the retract. Everybody hangs out for the big headline. Red
Hmm.
meat causes diabetes. You know, so that's what they're doing. They see a movement because carnivore is getting stronger and stronger. The movement for carnivore every day I see it is just much bigger. You got the carnivore diet, documentary thing going on. You got all of us that are active on YouTube, and that was a direct attack back at what we're doing in the community. And so
Hmm.
is it annoying? Absolutely, but you should also be excited because now they're starting to fear us because they
Right.
know that the diet's moving.
Well, and this is one of the best ways to take back your own power. For so long I felt so helpless and I didn't know where to turn. But now I stand in my own power to direct my life in the way that I want it to go. And that has given me a strength and a confidence that I didn't know that I would ever feel again. Motherhood brought me to my knees. That whole experience of going through the anxiety and depression and the mental health and hormonal dysregulation, it really brought me to a low point. I did not know that I would ever have anything worth offering to the world. And now I stand in my power and strength, and I accept that I can choose how I want my life to go based on what I choose to eat. It is so simple. And, by eating in a way that best supports my body and my health, I'm able to do the work that I need to do, the internal work, personal development, to then connect better with other people and hopefully help be, a hope and a light for them, so that everyone has a right and a birthright, really, to stand in their own power and to stand in their truth and to know that they are in charge of the way that their life is going to go.
All right. So I think I got confused. I saw Michael Selly in here, and I thought he was Keto Mike, but now Keto Mike's in here. So now I apologize if I said that wrong earlier. But Keto Mike, welcome to the chat. All right. So question here, and you answered it directly to the person, but I wanted to throw this on there so everybody in both channels can see it. Her Zoom meeting is today at 2 p.m. Eastern. And if you go to her Mighty, which we threw a link up back here in the chat, you can scroll back up to it. I'll copy it and repaste it here in a minute. Go to her Mighty. There's going to be a link in there for events. And then you can find out. And then I guess when you get close to the Zoom, you actually put a link up there to how to get onto the Zoom. And like I said, she's offering this for free, and a free group to get on there and support each other and to help each other out on your carnivore journey. I mean, that's a blessing in itself. All right, lost my track. Where am I at here? All right. Let's see. Do you participate in any resistance routines or walking, etc.?
Yes, I do. I did not always. When I first started carnivore, I took a step back from exercise because my body was really tired and I had a lot of healing to do and a lot of catching up on sleep. So I took naps every day and I did not push myself physically. I would still, walk and play with the kids and whatnot. I was still relatively active being a stay-at-home mom, but I did not intentionally work out during the first several months on carnivore because my body did not want that. I did not feel that desire to work out. However, as I healed and continued to progress, I felt a natural inclination to move my body. And so I started, getting back into lifting weights, doing, body resistance exercise, body weight training and whatnot. And then I have, routinely been going to the gym for the last several months, pretty much since we landed here in Eastern Tennessee back in April. And so I do lift pretty heavy, or, I try to. I like to increase my weights and go as heavy as I can, low number of reps to try and just build muscle. And so I'm doing that usually 2 to 3 times a week, along with some cardio in the gym. But mostly if I do cardio in the gym, it is rowing on the rowing machine at the highest level of resistance, really just to get more resistance training. And because mentally I like to put on my audiobook, whatever I'm listening to at the time, and kind of just zone out and row. So I do that form of cardio mostly because I like it, not because I'm trying to burn excess calories. And then I also regularly get out for a hike. And, I'm so blessed to live in this area. There are trails all around. There's so much access. And, that is my jam. That is why we are here living in Tennessee. And so I do get out and hike most mornings after I drop the kids off at school. I'll take the dog out. And I'm not necessarily working up a sweat or huffing and puffing up a mountain, but I'm spending time in nature. And for me, that, walking through the woods, it really helps me. And that's when I kind of do my gratitude practice. And I'm very fortunate. There aren't very many people around here. So I just talk out loud in the woods, saying what I'm grateful for and, what kind of impact I want to have on the day, and really just reflecting on the goodness that I have in my life. And that always helps bring me to a positive headspace to then carry throughout the rest of the day. So yes, I do work out. I do some resistance training. I do some cardio. But really all of it is just, it comes from a place of wanting to do it. I am not forcing myself to do it. It just makes me feel good.
Outstanding. And you don't live too far off the Appalachian Trail now either.
I do not. It is a 4-minute ride to one of the trailheads here. So very close.
Which was kind of your inspiration for moving back to this area, right? Because you guys,
absolutely, it was.
You and your husband have done the Appalachian Trail, correct?
Yes, he did too. He went southbound.
And you guys did it in opposite directions, right? You guys didn't.
We did.
You didn't do it at the same time. Were you even married at the time?
We were not married. We were dating, but I knew he was going to do it and he was determined to do it alone. And I knew it would be a life-changing, experience. And I wanted that experience for myself. So I decided I would do it just the other direction. And so we
So you
overlapped a little bit in the middle and
so
finished out
you
our
did
journeys
you did
alone.
north to south,
I did.
and he
And then
did
he went
south
south
to
to north.
north.
Oh,
And
sorry. Other way. I went south to north. He went
okay,
north to south.
so you went south north, he went north to south,
Mhm.
and then how many total miles is that?
Oh, it's like 2,000 plus. It changes
Yeah,
a little every year. It's like 22 to 2,400 miles.
yeah, so that was somewhere around 2,600 miles.
Yeah.
Um, and so how many months did that take?
It took me 4.5 months. I want to say I started late February, ended, early August. I think
Okay,
maybe it's 5.5 months. Yeah.
okay,
But it was
and
incredible. But when I was hiking that trail, I wasn't eating right. I was shoving little Debbie's down my gullet because I thought I needed the energy and it was all about calories in, calories out. But, didn't have the information I have now. And it's so funny, even though I was hiking and exercising, you would think, oh, she must have dropped a bunch of weight. And I did lose some, but I was so inflamed. My face was huge. I was still so puffy. I was retaining a bunch of water from just not eating right. And yeah, I was in nature and I was moving, which that I know was good for me. But it's interesting to look back at some of those pictures and just see how much inflammation is in my face despite that daily exercise.
yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? You look
Yeah.
back and you realize how bad you actually
Oh,
looked and how bad your overall metabolic health was.
yes. Yes.
Becky, I want to keep my channel the way it is, so I'm not going to define they. We all know who they are.
Oh.
I'll get my channel deleted probably if I get too off kilter here, and trust me, I can get worked up about that. I'm pretty passionate about it. Let's see here. Chrissy says, does anyone else in your family eat carnivore with you?
They do not. So of course, I'd love it if they would, but they do not. My kids, unfortunately, had been exposed to sugar before I found this way of eating. And I did go through a process where I really cleaned up their diet. And for a while there, I took out all gluten and they pretty much were eating animal based for several months. But at the time, my husband was a travel nurse. So we've moved around a lot. And in some of those moves, some of the carbs came back in. I remain very adamant against any kind of dyes, artificial dyes and colors. Just went through Halloween candy and threw out over half of it. And then I am also pretty mindful of how much gluten I let them have. So they do still have some bread here and there, but again, I'm mindful of how much they get, and I also am a pretty big stickler about seed oils. I just don't want them ingesting those. So any kind of bread that they do have, I make sure that it's made with butter and not any of the vegetable oils or seed oils. And so, I mean, I'm doing what I can. I feed them meat first and animal based first. But they are going to get other things and they have to live in this world and be a part of it. So I don't want to necessarily have things be off limits because then once they are able to choose for themselves, it becomes, kind of like a temptation that we're trying to just normalize good eating choices and being mindful. And I talk to them about it. I'm like, oh, you just had that sugar. So might be why it's hard to regulate your emotions right now. So let's take a minute to go calm down. And we just kind of talk through some of that. And then my husband, I swear it's funny, he still eats, whatever he's going to eat, but he doesn't cook vegetables anymore. Now that I'm not making dinner with vegetables, he's not choosing vegetables. He'll do his meal prep for his shifts at work. And he usually makes a bunch of ground beef, add some taco seasoning and rice and cheese. And that's what he's eating. So I will say our household has moved in a better direction. And of course, we're not eating out like we used to. But no, I'm carnivore alone. And again, that's why it's so helpful to have a community because, having people who know what it's like to go to social events where there's non-carnivore foods, ever present and being able to navigate that, it really helps to have that support and to feel like you have people in your corner who do understand, why you're choosing to eat this way and how that relates to real life events and situations.
Absolutely. So let's get this one here real quick. I got to step away for just a second. I'll be right back if you want to answer this question.
Sure. Yeah. How is my sleep and duration quality? All right. So when I first, back before I started keto, I would not sleep well and I had the night sweats. Every single night I was waking up drenched in sweat. And now looking back, I realized this was, this correlated to the time that my cortisol would spike around 1 to 3 a.m. So my sleep was not good then. And keto helped a little bit. The night sweats started to dissipate. And by the time I started carnivore 5.5 months later in June of 2022, I wasn't having the night sweats anymore, and I was starting to get better sleep. But bear in mind, I have had young children. So somebody is constantly getting me up. Now that they're 4.5 and 3, the night, disruptions are much less, but still probably 3 or 4 nights a week, somebody is coming in to wake me up and ask me to put them back to bed. However, I'm no longer stuck awake from that 1 to 3 a.m. period. I used to really struggle with sleep, and that has gotten so much better, but it took time. It probably took, I would say, 3 or 4 months on carnivore before my sleep started to get better. And then I attempted some fasting, and that pushed that spiked my cortisol, and that pushed my hormones in the wrong direction. And then I really struggled with sleep for a range of time after that, probably a solid month after a period of really over fasting. And experiencing that hormonal dysregulation. But now my sleep is great. I fall asleep within 5 minutes of my head hitting the pillow. And I usually do still wake up once or so a night to go to the bathroom. That has always been my norm. And I know I do think that will go away with time, because I do have some nights where I sleep all the way through the night, but things have to line up perfectly with no kids and not drinking too much water right before bed. So
most of it's just how much liquid you consume, that hour or two before you go to bed.
Right. Yeah. I'm kind of guilty of not drinking enough water during the day. And then by the end of the day, I'm really thirsty. And so then that's when I drink a little too much water, which, whatever. I just accept that, hop up, go to the bathroom. But whereas before I would stay stuck awake for, 30 minutes to an hour, I'm now able to fall right back asleep. So even that disruption is not a big deal. And I wake up feeling rested. Usually I'm naturally waking up around 5:30, but kids are up around that time anyways, 5:36. So.
All right, so let's stop here for a second. Julie, we answered this back there a minute ago, but we're going to answer it again for you here. It is at 2 p.m. Eastern today. And you can go to she threw the link back in here at some point here. I just saw it recently. This is the link you can go to, get on her Mighty, and then that'll put you on there, and then you'll be able to get the link to the Zoom call if you want to, attend it. And you're more than welcome to. She would absolutely love to have you on there. So once again, 2 p.m. Eastern. So I'm not. What is that? Central that would be what? 1 p.m. 1 p.m. or 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern, and then you're more than welcome to join in there.
Yes, we'd love to have you.
Absolutely. She'd love to have any one of you guys that want to join in there and have a conversation. And the good thing is, she has them, what you said, 3 days a week. So you can find one that fits in your schedule. You can pop in there and have a conversation, and you can talk about the highs and lows of your week, the struggles that you're dealing with. You can talk to other people that may have some advice on how to deal with whatever it is that you've been facing that week. And so that it's just a great forum for an open discussion to support each other.
Yes. All right.
Out of bacon, need to go shopping. That is a crime, Susan. That is absolutely horrible. I can't have a freezer without bacon in it. I don't even know what I would do.
Yeah, I do love bacon. A little too much.
John, me and you will walk. I promise. All right, bud. Just let me know. I tell you what. I'm getting a leg cramp. I'm sorry. 1 second here.
Oh, that's all right.
On this chair, give me a leg cramp. Probably need some salt in my diet or something today. That's why I had to get up a minute ago.
I used to struggle a lot with leg cramps too when I first started. And, everyone recommends magnesium and get more magnesium and the magnesium spray and whatnot. But I found the thing that helped me the most was starting mouth taping. So I just took a piece of tape that's designed, like the Nexicare, I think, makes a blue tape for sensitive skin. And I would just tape it from the top of my mouth to the bottom of my mouth. I'd always put lip gloss on so it wouldn't stick to that sensitive skin on my lips. But that would just help hold my mouth shut while I was sleeping at night. And so it just helped me get better sleep, get deeper sleep. And within, I would say 3 to 4 days, definitely within a week of starting doing that, my leg cramps that I would get frequently, especially at night, went away. And so I don't know. That's one of those little solutions that people offer, and it sounds a little hokey. I know it sounded hokey when I first heard it, and I didn't want to try it. But once I did, that actually was what did it for me, was the mouth taping at night.
Yeah, I don't know. This chair is pushing right on the back of my leg because this isn't a very comfortable chair. And Suddenly I just started getting a muscle cramp right there in the back of my calf. So sorry about that.
No, that's okay. That's
All
all right.
right. Let me see what we got going on here. So here, what's the mountain up there in the Appalachians? Mount LeConte? Is that how it's pronounced?
I'm not sure which one.
Anyways, there's a trail up there that I want to do, and maybe we'll get together sometime and hike it. It's 5 miles up. It's a mile loop at the top, and then it's 5 miles back. So you're talking about 11-mile hike.
Solid day. I love that.
Yeah, early morning, all day.
Yeah.
Supposed to be one of the highest points in the Appalachians.
Yeah.
So you can get up there. You're supposed to have a really great 360-degree view of the area. So that's on my list to do now that the weather's cooled off some, because I don't do soup weather in the summer.
Right. Yeah, let's plan it. That would be amazing.
That would be awesome. Let's see here. It's a sad day when you run out of bacon. Absolutely. I mean, that breaks my heart. I couldn't imagine being without bacon. Let's see here. I'm sorry. I'm looking for cues, guys. Sorry, I fell behind here because of my leg cramp. No, I don't see any more cues in here at the moment. So let me ask you. So we'll back up, sir. I have a coworker that I've been helping out. I got their husband and wife. Both work with me, and here a few months back, she was diagnosed with pre-diabetes. And of course, they had already seen my progress at the time, and that point, I was probably maybe 60 pounds down. I've probably lost 20 pounds since then, and she sent me a message yesterday saying, "Hey, I went back to the doctor, and I'm no longer pre-diabetic. And thank me for it."
Wow.
Those are the type of messages, and those are the type of non-scale victories that I love.
Yes.
That's what I want. I want to hear how people have taken this and figured out how to encompass it in their life.
Yes.
And to improve their health and to get those non-scale victories. And so that was the highlight of my week.
I mean, that's amazing. And to know that you were part of helping them experience that health victory. I mean, all just by living your example. I know it can be so tempting to want to tell everyone about this healing way of eating, but at the end of the day, it's like people's stories, that's what people connect with, right? Like that's what brings them in and draws in that emotional connection to the power of change that is potentially waiting for someone, is seeing and hearing those stories of other people. I think that's one of the most powerful ways that we can spread this message.
Absolutely. I love it when somebody pops in and tells me, "Hey, this or this happened. I took your advice and I'm having positive effects of it." I had a comment in my last stream where, a gentleman, he was using half and half in his coffee, and I said, "Why don't you try, heavy cream?" And he switched from half and half to heavy cream, and he ended up dropping weight again. It immediately, because half and half is mostly just water and sugar with a little bit of milk flavor.
Yeah.
We got a question here. Have you guys tried a Brazilian steakhouse? Taking my wife tonight. Can't wait. So there's one here local. I don't know if you've ever been there, Rebecca, but it's called Brazeros. It's there, over there near Paper Mill.
Okay.
You walk into this place. Now I go for lunch because you get the exact same food at a cheaper price than you do at dinner. You have a card that goes on your table. And so the card's red on one side and green on the other. And so when you want food, you flip it to green, and they come by with these big skewers of meat, and they literally cut it right off the skewer onto your plate. And they'll just keep running around with goat, lamb, beef, chicken, sausages, you name it. It's the carnivore's delight. And so, you want to go hungry. I wouldn't recommend eating before, and you probably won't want to eat for a day or two after because you'll have so much nutrients and fatty meat in you. But yeah, I absolutely love the place. But the price is, the price is up there. And like I said, I prefer lunchtime because it's pretty much the exact same menu. at about half the price.
Mm-hmm.
You ever been there?
I have not. No, I wrote it down though, so I'll definitely have to check it out. It's something I would absolutely love, and I hear other carnivores really enjoy that experience. Mike, your wife is a lucky lady to go there tonight, so I hope y'all go hungry. It sounds like it'll be quite the feast.
Let's see here. Chrissy says Keto Maga went in one in June. Get the I don't know how to say that. Vegana. So good.
Yeah.
My card was green for a long time. Yeah, and then you just end up flipping it back and forth because I mean they'll just bombard you with food. You don't even have time to chew half the time before another one walks up and says, "Hey, let me shave some of this off for you." So we've been going for an hour and 10 minutes, and I respect your time. We ran a little bit over where I planned on being today.
That is A-okay.
If anybody's got any final questions for Rebecca, please pop them in now. Me and her are going to talk for a few more minutes. Then we're going to pull the plug on this one and move on for the rest of our day because she's got stuff to plan for her Zoom call. And I got some stuff I got to finish for my channel. Like I said, I'm working on a newsletter. So if you want to sign up for my newsletter, go to my Facebook page. I have a link posted in there for you to be able to sign up for the newsletter. I'm working on putting that together so I can start putting that out on a weekly basis. It's going to be, information related to carnivore. It's going to be information related to living off grid. And I'm going to throw in a few carnivore recipes, ketovore recipes. It'll be somewhere right in there. Carnivore is not very exciting as a recipe. Take steak, salt it, put it on a grill. It's a hard recipe.
Pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward. But, we'll play with that some and throw that in there. But I'm looking forward to getting that done. That's what I'm working on today. And I just uploaded Randy's interview to podcast. So you can listen to Randy's interview from Wednesday now on all your favorite podcasts. All right, Rebecca, this is my favorite question of the night. What's on your heart? What would you like to say to the audience, those that listen to the recording, those that listen to the podcast at the end of this? What are you thinking?
I think that such a good question. It's all about connection. It's about being able to relate to everyone around you. We can talk diet, we can talk exercise, healthy lifestyle measures, but at the end of the day, that doesn't mean very much if you just keep it all to yourself, if you are still feeling isolated and alone. We are creatures that are designed to be in connection and community with each other. And we are designed to share that love that lives in all of us, whatever you want to call that, your higher power, greater spirit, God. There is a power that connects us all, and it is love. And we are best able to share that when we are living in a way that we feel that love for ourselves and for others. And for me, the carnivore diet has helped me reach that place of being able to love myself and love others. And so, however you get there, wherever your journey takes you, it's so important to remember that we're all humans. We are all of the same, cut of the same cloth. We are all in this life living together, trying to do our best and find optimal health and healing and happiness in everything that we do. And I feel like we do that best when we are together and when we look at each other with compassion and love.
Outstanding. Absolutely. All right, guys. So, been a great interview. I appreciate Rebecca. She's doing a great job. She's doing a great job of reaching out and and helping people, through her Mighty group, through her YouTube channel, through her Instagram. Reach out and tell her hi, send her a message, get on her channel, comment on her videos, spread the word, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and help us out. Couple of announcements. Sunday, I have my live stream at 1:00 every week. Carnivore Roundtable. Got some great people that are going to be on there this week, so I'm looking forward to that. I got confirmation yesterday from Dr. Lisa Wiedemann that she is going to be on the Carnivore Roundtable in December, and I'll be posting all of that up for people. I believe it's Sunday the 17th. So I'm looking forward to that. I know Christy's going to be on that live. Meeting Wellness is going to be on that live with Dr. Wiedemann, so I'm excited to have her on there. I got some more interviews I'm scheduling. I've got an interview scheduled coming up with JT from the Polka Moonshine. I'm gonna meet up with Keto Mike, who's in the comment section here. We got some other ones that I'm working on. Meeting Wellness is going to be on my channel. Plus, we're also going to do a one-on-one with her. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn on that bell notification so you get notified of all my lives. And we'll keep putting them out here for everybody to know. And I appreciate you guys. And we'll catch you on the next one. And with that, we're going to come on. Here we go. Sorry.